Hi everyone, my name is Charlie Puente, and I want to tell you about a dad who was too late to go help his son. Chris Buckner, who was the father of Dylan Buckner, was racing down the highway. Chris, his father, had just recently received some tips from his wife, as well as his son's friends, that he was at a hotel and they were kind of scared and worried for him. Their son, Dylan, was a star quarterback. He had 14 offers to play Division III football, and he had a 4.7 GPA. As his father neared the hotel, he realized he was too late. There were cop cars surrounding the entire hotel. According to the Middle East Psychiatric, which was published in January 28, 2023, suicide is about 700K of global death. 80% of those suicides are in low to middle countries. Today, I'm here to inform you about suicide and how to help. First, I want to talk to you about the problems of high amounts of teen suicide. Second, I want to talk to you about why teens commit suicide and what are the reasonings behind it. Why do they feel this way? And third, I want to talk to you about the solutions to help teen suicide. With social media over time becoming a huge problem in our society is a leading factor to this teen suicide. According to the North Shore News, in October 23rd, 2005, in a class of, let's say, 30 students, throughout the entire 4 years of high school, 21 of these students would have considered taking their own lives. On top of that, according to the CDC, which was published in May 16, 2015, they took a youth behavior study, and its students who were LGBTQ+, about 30% of them had attempted suicide in the past year. With such high rates of suicide in these kids, why do these kids feel this way? According to the Creators Syndicate, which was published in 2018, January 31st to be specific, kids from USC did a survey of about 6,000 students. They compiled them into groups of those who had considered taking their lives and those who had not. When they compared them, those kids who had considered suicide had problems with divorced parents, and a higher percent of them were in foster homes. So those who had these problems with their families and at home had much higher attempts of suicide and suicide rates than those who did not have these problems at home. According to the Belfast Newsletter, which was published in October 23rd, 2002, 80% of young people who consider suicide or take their own lives have suicide and mental illness problems. A lot of this has to do with the drugs that these people would take, which would either make their mental health be worse or increase their chances of depression and suicide. With bullying, loneliness, and drugs, a lot of families and teens struggle. But how is a way to help these kids who are struggling get better? First, I want to talk to you about the Star Tribune, which was published in June 20th, 2018. And those kids who were bullied were less likely to think about having suicide than those who weren't connected with their parents. These kids who had a higher connection with their parents, they felt closer to them, they liked the school that they were going to, they also had meaningful relationships with either a coach, pastor, or with their families, or even with their friends, had a higher chance and likelihood of not taking their own lives. According to the Philadelphia Tribune, to ensure the safety of these kids, ways on helping prevent these suicidal deaths, as a parent or as a friend or as a person in control over a parent or a kid, the best way is to not overstep their boundaries. Once they have like an attempt of suicide, the best way to help these kids is not to just be like, why did you do that? Oh, getting mad at them. It doesn't help these kids. It only makes it worse. The best way to do this is to just monitor their behaviors and their habits and just kind of study these kids. Don't overstep. That's a huge, huge issue in society. People overstep and try to pry into these kids and the reasons why they commit suicide. So first, I've talked to you about the high percentages of bullying and suicide. Second, I've talked to you about why these kids are getting bullied. and why these kids feel suicidal with their loneliness without parents. And the solutions I've offered is to listen to these kids, listen to their stories. Don't try to figure it out on your own, and seek help with other people who are professionals to help study these kids and make sure that they never feel like the best solution in their life is to take their own lives. I talked about suicide and how to help them, and I've talked about how to avoid these situations. To help avoid these situations would help the fact that no parent would have to drive to see their kid and their kid is no longer with them. It can help Chris Buckner not have to drive down the highway speeding, figure out from the cops that their son was no longer with them. By taking your time and helping and offering a safe place for these kids who feel like they'd be better off not on this earth, can help save those lives in the future.